Hi there, welcome to Terrorland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Libra energy, and like usual, on this channel we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Libra energy, the bottom row a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy. All of us in our Libra energy of self, and people who are Libra sun signs or have lots of Libra placements, we've all got our dualistic nature, and we have to debate kind of within ourselves about what we think is just and fair and what our truth is. And some people could be debating within themselves right now. But as some people could be debating, other people have made their choice because we live in a world where we have free will and we have to make choices. And some people have chosen to move forward. High vibe energy can be that more hope and faith and belief in yourself, maybe in a more healed way, a more balanced way, a more loving way. And some people aren't moving forward maybe to the same degree as some other people. Everything's relative, you know. You might have people more high vibrational than you, and they could view you as being a little more shadowy or immature or imbalanced or whatever. And you can, in relationship to others, we all know people that we could feel aren't very just and fair or something, right? But I think life's about learning lessons, and that the truth sets us free from things that manipulate us. Our fear and our insecurity and our pride and our ego and our lack of self-belief, or all those things can manipulate us. Our immaturity, our ego, our selfishness, our lust, our greed, all those things can manipulate us. And everybody kind of wants to hang out with people who are on the same page as them. And sometimes we get more mismatched relationships. And kind of what drives and motivates us and what our truth is different. And what we think is just and fair is different. Libra is represented by the scales of justice. So, we all have to weigh out kind of what things we're willing to give up to pursue the things that we feel are our truth, right? So you might know a Libra sun sign. You could be the one who harnesses high vibe Libra energy. You could be a Libra and you do harness high vibe Libra energy, but some people don't, whether they're a Libra sun sign or not, because we all tap into Libra energy. So just listen to your intuition about where you might be in the story, and listen to your intuition about some other people in your life, and try to figure out who you think seems to be more aligned with being on the same page as you in what you think is just and fair. Okay. So the reason for the top rose reading is the Tower card. So the Tower card talks about kind of seeing the truth about when it's time to detach from an old way of living life or viewing life or feeling about ourselves or something. We had a way of viewing life, and then as we learn lessons in life, it's like, that's no longer our truth anymore. I was 15, 18, 21, 25. I don't think and feel the same way I used to at those different ages and stages of life. And when we see the truth of it, and if we kind of have hope and faith and belief in our dreams, we see when it's time to let go of some old ways of living or thinking, and we move forward in life differently. And there can be people who still want to move forward with you, but you might feel like the Tower could represent someone who still doesn't want to see the truth. Things happen in our life to try to wake us up to see the truth, that something we could be in isn't stable, isn't grounded, isn't loving, isn't just, isn't fair. Is that a job, a friendship, a relationship? It could be any of those things. Are we willing to deal with the truth and to move forward in life differently? You have to be willing to detach again from an old way of living life. And for some people, that could really cause them a lot of instability within themselves, and partly because they're just not ready. And we're all ready to move forward at different stages than other people, right? So let's go look at the top row. we have the Ten of Cups, the Ten of Swords, the Five of Swords, and the Emperor. So the tens can talk about completing a cycle. When we do complete the cycle in the Ten of Cups, we've kind of, and in the Ten of Swords, there were things that we emotionally were invested in that we thought were aligned with our truth, and at one time they were. But then it can kind of feel that, we do have this mental conflict. That's what the Five of Swords talks about. And it's Aquarius energy about I have a dream. Say you're working at a job and you've kind of really liked the job, but you've kind of moved as far as you can in that job. But it's not, because life can be about trying to grow to your full potential. And the Emperor can be about learning these lessons in life and growing to your full potential. And if we keep staying, say, at a job where we can't keep advancing and learn new skills and feel like we're growing to our full potential, some people right now are deciding, if it was a job, to leave a job. In shadow, the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Swords can be that you could have been in a foundation with some people who are happy living more from their mind than their heart. And maybe they could be kind of cold or detached or bossy or controlling or manipulative or unstable in some way, not operating, working together cooperatively in a more just and fair and balanced and loving way. And they could be happy living their life that way. This is great. You should stay here. You should be my friend. You should stay in a relationship with me. You should marry me. And some people are like, I just can't stay here. I have gone through every possible reason, negotiated back and forth with myself. I could keep defending it, and I maybe have been defending it. Sometimes we can defend things because we just want to be right. Well, high vibe energy is being a leader in the world, and we got to get out of our ego and our inner conflict, face our fears, face our insecurities, to believe in ourselves, to not let our more egoic nature but I wanted this to work. It's like the fives can talk about change. No, I'm sure they'll change. I'm sure one day they'll change. I might like these people. I might love these people. I'm sure they'll change one day. And some people could be loving people, but they're afraid still and struggling with making that decision. We can all love other people, but if those other people kind of keep emotionally investing in being in ways that are unjust and unfair or bossy or controlling, they want us to put an end to our dreams and stay in a workplace or a friendship or relationship with people who harness the Emperor energy in a shadowy way where they're kind of bossy and controlling. And then we have to deal with this inner conflict within ourself. Who and what am I going to defend? Because the Five of Swords looks like it's defending, right? And sometimes we think we've healed from something, and to a degree, because the Five of Swords comes after the Four of Swords, which is Libra energy, I could have felt hurt in the past. And it caused me mental conflict, and I could have decided to let go of that other way of living my life, or people, or jobs. And sometimes we do that, but sometimes the people that we then go take action towards aren't the right job, the right friend, the right relationship either. Well, are we going to keep moving forward with it again? Even when the divine is trying to show us the truth that, everything we go pursue doesn't necessarily work out the way we want. Are we willing to admit that maybe, maybe something happened in my life where I felt backstabbed and betrayed. It caused me mental conflict, and I could have moved forward in something else, but that wasn't the right decision. And, in the Five of Swords, we have to be careful. Am I making a decision more because something else didn't work out? And I have this dream and I want that to work out, but I still could be making decisions more out of fear, insecurity, or codependency or something like that. And that's when some people could see the truth that, you know, I can keep hoping other people will change, but really the only person I can change is myself. And the Emperor is Aries energy, which is about the self. And sometimes we can be a very loving person, but we're still kind of willing to get in more imbalanced, mismatched relationships because that can kind of be our comfort zone. Like, well, always trying to get other people to change, make them heal and grow and mature themselves. And it's like, how about see the truth of where people are at, and if they're more immature, self-indulgent, bossy, controlling, live more from their mind than their heart, whatever it is, how about I just see the truth of it? And I believe in myself and I believe in my dreams. I'm not willing to let those things go, and that means I have to change. And maybe I've been getting in relationships with people who don't really challenge me to grow and heal and mature myself. And maybe I haven't been making the best decisions in my life. Am I willing to see the truth? And the only person I can change is me. And am I willing to make better decisions in my life if I don't want to keep repeating certain patterns? I can always get in relationships hoping other people will change, but how about not trying to change people, accepting them at where they're at, seeing if you're not really on the same page, that your idea of the dream life or the dream relationship or what you want to invest your time in and things like that, it's not the same. And then we really think about, we can almost want to stay with the devil we know than face the devil we don't know. And that can cause people some mental conflict. Some people could be torn between different people. Maybe there was someone in their past that they did find, either it was a happy relationship, but and they thought it was going to be long term, but then something happened in the relationship. People could have been motivated and inspired by different things again. One person could have been ready to be more responsible maybe in their life, or be willing to take other people more into consideration when they make decisions in their life, and maybe some of the other people had inner conflict about doing that, and the Ten of Cups can mean our friend group, our original family group, some group that we kind of thought were going to be in our life kind of long term. And then we could have mental conflict about believing in ourselves and becoming more independent to live our own life. And then we have to start standing up for ourselves and be more independent. And we have to detach from being more codependent on the friend group, the original family group, staying with people that are in our comfort zone more so. What is aligned with our truth? And some people right now could be debating within themselves. Some people are finding that, I'm ready to move forward in life differently. And then I get in relationships with people who seem to have conflict about making a decision to move forward, to detach from an old foundation or an old way of viewing life, like living more from their mind than their heart. And it's like, but I want to be in relationships with people who kind of have learned these lessons. High vibe emperor is whether you're male or female, that you kind of are who you say you are, and you have learned these lessons. I could have driven my life off into the ditch because I used to let my heart run my life, and then my mind ran my life, and then my worldly nature ran my life, and then my passionate creative nature ran my life. And it's kind of getting balanced within all of them, learning the lessons we were meant to learn. Like, oh, I can't be so tipped out of balance that my heart is the most important thing and the other aspects of my life fall apart. And it's about Libra energy being balanced, that, I want these things of the world just like other people want, but I'm not willing to sacrifice kind of standing up for myself and what I believe in, or letting go of my dreams to make my life more about someone else's dream, where there's not justice and fairness and balance, or staying in something more out of my fear or my insecurity, being in relationships with people who backstab me or people who are bossy and controlling, you know. And then people have to decide if they have choices. Am I moving forward in something where there was people in my life that I did think I'd be long-term emotionally happy, but something happened on their part, my part, both our parts. Maybe both people weren't willing to kind of grow up or something. Maybe both of them were kind of bossy and controlling in a degree, because we've all got lessons learned. You can be motivated and inspired by love, but you can still have some of your shadow nature that you still need to work through. And some people right now could be trying to decide what they're going to do. And then there's some really shadowy people in the world who they try to present themselves as like this leader in the world. I'm this just and fair and stable and grounded person. You should be in a relationship with me. That it makes them happy to present themselves that way and for other people to view them that way. But that's not the truth of who they are. They do maybe have a lot of mental conflict, or they are more shadowy in some way. And we'll talk about the shadow nature down here. And then they try to move forward. It's kind of like taking a job that you're really not qualified for, but you try to present yourself like, I am more than capable of doing this job. And then they kind of get in the job, and then everybody can kind of see that you're not who you said you were. And you presented yourself as being a certain type of person, and that's not the truth of the foundation that you operate from. And, eventually people that are in relationship with them who might be maybe authentically who they say they are, and maybe a little more mature and balanced than they are, could even be communicating with some people that, I don't think we're on the same path. And if you seem to have mental conflict about making better decisions in this relationship dynamic of whatever it could be, then I see the truth that you have mental conflict about that. And the other way around too, if somebody is more unjust, unfair, unstable, and grounded, but they're in a position of authority, well, other people might be like, yeah, I'm not going to take that job, and I'm not going to keep being their friend or staying in relationship with them. Because the Tower can talk also about that, like the universe is trying to get people to see the truth. And for a long time, we can want to stay in a relationship even if we are being backstabbed and betrayed or hurt in some way, because we just haven't worked through the mental conflict we have about making that decision to detach. And again, say everybody worked at a certain job, or people do work at a certain job together, and some people are like, no, that's it. That is the final straw. That last thing that happened, I'm out of here. Well, some other people still could have mental conflict about doing that, even though there could be things that they don't like about it either, right? And everybody has to make that decision when they're ready to make that decision. There could be people that would like to be in a job or a relationship or friendship with people. Like, wow, that would really make me look like a boss. Or that would be really great. That would be really emotionally fulfilling. But they're not taking action towards those people, either because they keep getting not having hope and faith and belief in themselves, and they keep kind of giving up on their dream, or they know in order to really be in that relationship, they would have to change. And they really have a hard time about working through their mental conflict of the fact that if I were to be in that relationship, I really do have to be who I say I am. There's no more just creating an illusion that I'm more emotionally mature and stable than I really am. I'd really have to be that. And it's no longer just about me. I would have to take other people into consideration when I make decisions if my decisions affect them. And some people really have a lot of mental conflict about that because they really are kind of more about themselves. And then, as time goes by in relationships, even if some people are creating an illusion, some people are creating an illusion like, oh yeah, I've detached in the past, I'm ready to move forward and bring a dream into reality with you. And people get in a relationship with them and they're happy, but then the dream never comes into reality. It's like, time after time after time, I thought you detach from these things of the past or work through your fear or your insecurity or past pain and heartbreak. I thought you were telling the truth. That we were really going to move forward. And they keep seeing it isn't happening. And then those people really have a hard time trying to decide, I don't know, should I stand up for what I believe in? And should I detach from this? And, are they kind of indulging in the relationship with me or manipulating me? And, it can really make us kind of really think about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And are we willing to stand up for ourselves? And sometimes that is why some of those things happen in our life, is to, just like everybody we come in contact with, it is all an experience for us to help get more clear about what our truth is and isn't. And are we willing to take action on our truth and what we think is just and fair, or are we not? Are we willing to grow up and mature ourselves? Are we willing to stand up for what we believe in? Are we willing to become more independent? Because high vibe energy is about being more independent from our fears and our insecurities and all these things that manipulate us. Some people, and then there's people in the world too, if you are someone who, shadowy energy can be people that are kind of in their ego and in a competitive energy. And some of those people can be more indulgent and kind of live more from their mind than their heart, kind of full of themselves, or have a lot of mental conflict about really kind of walking the talk in a way. And then if they see people who don't seem to be indulging in backstabbing themselves or being more prideful or egotistical or manipulative or bossy or controlling, it can kind of shine a light on the fact that they're not who they thought they were. Because even shadowy people can think, no, I'm this boss in the world and I am, this certain person in the world and people should want to be in a relationship with me. And then if someone comes along, that could be a shock. Someone comes along who really seems to be kind of what they profess to be, then it can kind of cause them a lot of mental conflict, because it even forces them to kind of see through the illusion of how they view themselves. And it could kind of bring up, jealousy or envy, and it kind of is bothering them. And then they don't want to sometimes deal with the truth of it. And then they think they just want to like backstab the more high vibrational people. I want to make you sad. I want to try to tear down your foundation, because if I can get you sad or get you angry, it makes me feel powerful again. Or if I can make you sad and make you not love and believe in yourself, then maybe you'll feel like I feel, and then it won't bother me because you won't be someone who is living your life differently than me, and you'll be living your life like me. And there's some people in the world that purposely do backstab and are hurtful and unkind to people because they don't want them to keep healing and growing and maturing themselves, because they could be happy being in a relationship with them. But if you keep closing out cycles and you keep healing and changing and learning lessons in life, you're eventually going to want me to do that. And I don't want to do that. I'm happy doing things like this. And you should stop changing and come back and do it like this. But the whole thing is, it's like if you got in a relationship with someone, say you're 18. Well, you're not the same person. Most people aren't the same person at age 21 that they were at 18, but some people are. And they still view life the way they view it and want to live life the way they've lived it, being more like an 18-year-old. And then they don't like it if the people in their world are kind of bossing up. Because I don't want to do that. There's nothing I want to let go of. I like living life like this. And so then they can purposely try to wear on your self-esteem. And then as we go through that enough, eventually people are like, I was happy being in a relationship with you too. I just thought, the normal process in life is that we do live life at certain phases of life, but then that phase of life comes to an end, and it's time to face our fears, and we work through our mental conflict about moving forward in life a little more bold and brave and confident, because Aries is fire sign energy. And then that's kind of interesting too, because Aries and Libra are in opposite signs of the zodiac wheel. And you could look at any zodiac sign, and the whole thing is, again, is kind of get balance between those two, where some people could have been more tipped into their Libra energy and kind of disregarded and maybe thought it was less important to align with their more creative, inspired, bold, brave, confident nature, because that is kind of out of their comfort zone, maybe. And then, they have their lessons to learn about, if I don't take more bold, brave, confident action in my life, I feel like I'm backstabbing myself and it causes me mental conflict. And there's people in my life that are happy when I'm in that energy because they are too, but other people are being a little more bold, brave, and confident. And why am I not kind of getting more balance between my Libra energy and my fire sign energy? And if they work through that, then they could maybe get a little more balance within themselves. And sometimes some people, you can swing one direction because, oh, I'm all fired up about this stuff, I'm going to go do this stuff. I don't care about being just and fair. I don't care about doing what's logical and practical. And then we can kind of drive our life off in the ditch in the other direction. But all of those are experiences to kind of show us, yeah, you went too far. And it is about, I also view the fives as kind of like being in balance, because there's a maximum of 10 in every suit. This is the 10 all up in your head, maybe up in your head or in your fears or in your insecurities, or trying to do is logical and practical. And fire sign energy can be about more listening to your intuitive nature. And also, I think in our worldly nature, in our fire sign energy, we're really kind of caught up in all these things of the world that we make so important in our life. And it's trying to get balance within ourselves that, if I swing too far this way, swing too far that way, my head, my heart, my worldly nature, my passionate nature, I need to get more balanced within myself. And some people could feel like they've went out on the extremes. I've been in relationships with people who were really tipped more in favor of this way, and then I was in relationships with people who were more tipped in this way. And it's kind of like trying to find that balance, but it starts within ourselves. And if we're balanced within ourselves, then it's trying to figure out who seems to be more of the people that seem to be more on the same page. Is it the people I'm currently moving forward with, the people I have been moving forward with, or people I maybe, because life's about making choices that I didn't even consider those people as an option before. Because that's just not my frame of mind that I was in. It wasn't how I was viewing the world. And then so some people could realize, wow, I was going way too far in my fire sign energy. I need to get more balance within myself. When I make it more about me, I could backstab loving, supportive, encouraging people in my life. And, it's not supposed to be all about me. And, so, and then other people in the lives with other people in their life have to deal with the mental conflict, the fact that we're dealing with other people that are going through all this. They have their dualistic nature. They're trying to figure out what their truth is. And I think the best advice that high vibe people eventually come to is that I'm going to deal with the truth. If there's people in my life who I think are more indulgent, like to live more from their mind than their heart, or are hurtful or unkind or backstabbing or try to tear me down, try to cause me mental conflict, try to get me not to believe in my dreams, so I'll kind of indulge them in a workplace or relationship. I'm not going to do that. I might have done that before, but I'm not going to do that anymore. I've seen the truth and I have a dream. Indulging other people in their poor behavior, if they're not motivated and inspired to change, I can't make them change. It doesn't matter how loving or just or fair or encouraging I am. Everybody has free will, and they have to. The Ten of Swords is Gemini energy about our dualistic nature of free will, about what our truth is and isn't. And if they keep showing me over and over that's not their truth, well, then I've got to come to a place of peace about it. And I need to heal, and the only person I can change is me. And I see that their truth is different than my truth. And I wish them peace, and I'm going to make good decisions in my life, and they can make whatever decisions they want to do in their life. And I am willing to detach from this foundation and move on. And that's why some of the people don't want to move forward with you, because they have things and people in their life and ways of viewing the world that they would have to detach from, and they would have to quit backstabbing themselves and indulging themselves and other people in poor behavior. They would have to change. And that can be some people, they're not ready to change yet. They don't want to change, or they're full of themselves and I don't have to change. It's like, that's true. You don't. But I've decided I do not find this to be a foundation that I want to stay in, because I don't think people are operating from truth and love. Can there be love there? Yeah, but you could be bossy, you could be immature, you could be controlling, you could have a lot of issues you don't deal with. And I've decided to move on, and I wish you peace. And yeah, some people could be mad about it. Just like if you had a job where somebody's bossy and controlling, it doesn't look good. If the people that come work there, everybody ends up deciding to leave. It's like, I'm not the problem. No, you're not. We'll just keep seeing why nobody stays, Anyway, let's go look at the bottom row. The reason for the bottom rows coming out is because when we're in our shadow energy with the Ace of Cups, high vibe energy is all around us, and it's free will to choose to align with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature and detach from our more immature, prideful, egotistical, fearful, defensive nature, or self-centered nature, or lazy nature, right? And we can get in relationships with people, Ten of Cups, Ace of Swords. It seemed like a good idea. And again, we can love people. But that doesn't mean we're on the same page, that we have the same dreams, that there weren't some things hidden in the foundation that we didn't know about. And eventually we kind of saw the truth about those things and maybe realized our truth was different. And again, up here we have the Ten of Cups, which can be I listen more to love and my intuition to guide me than doing what's just logical and practical or out of my fear or my insecurity and living more from my mind than my heart. I worked through my mental conflict and I made that free will choice and I worked through my shadow nature to offer myself love. And I have hope and faith and belief in myself and in my dreams and in love. And some other people haven't done that yet. And we can be in jobs and friendships and relationships with people for a long time because there's all these different things to navigate in a relationship and a friendship. And we can maybe navigate through all of those things until we get down to the core foundational truth. Do you think it's just and fair to take action more when you have conflict from love? Or do you think it's just and fair? I have an idea. I could do that, but I'm not going to. And that can show a difference in emotional maturity. High vibe people have learned that love is the answer. I'm going to offer love to this situation. Then I can feel proud of myself that I feel like I did everything I could. And then I can't ignore the truth that apparently they do not want, their truth is different than my truth. And I'm not going to keep putting my dreams on hold when someone has shown me that their truth isn't to align with their more hopeful, believing, just, fair, balanced, loving nature, making more mature decisions in their life. They apparently have some lessons to go learn. And those could be some lessons I've already learned. And I want to be in relationships with other people who have learned some of those lessons. So some people could think in the Justice card, Libra energy, they could view themselves as just and fair, but in shadow, maybe they're not so just and fair. And they also could think it's just and fair to be more about them, their wants, their needs, their lusts, their greed, their pride, their ego. And then we have the Ace of Wands, inspired not to see the truth, because the sun is about being illuminated to the truth. And if it wasn't that, the sun is Leo energy, just like Aries is fire sign energy. We're all of us, probably the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're pretty caught up in the world, really inspired, wanting to get the justice we deserve, and we all think we know best. And we're sure if we go invest in those things of the world and make our life about whatever those things are of the world, we'll be happy. And some people just haven't been illuminated to the truth yet. Some of you already maybe had more life experience than some other people. You already went and indulged in those things thinking you were going to get justice. And high vibes Leo sun energy is you thought it would be loving and warm and encouraging and supportive, and you found out it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. It wasn't the truth. I can drink, I can drug, I can sex, I can date, I can marry, I can have jobs, but am I listening to my own intuition to guide me, or am I just getting in jobs, friendships, relationships, doing whatever, trying to feel better maybe, because I haven't learned to love myself. And because I haven't learned to love myself, I'm kind of operating from an unstable foundation, and I'm looking to get in relationships with other people for them to make me feel more balanced. And that's like a more codependent relationship. And some people like more codependent relationships. Let's stay here and do this. Let's never change. Let's stay here and just do this, because I have a problem of working through some of my issues that I would need to work through in order to change. So, but we don't know that initially when we get in a relationship. And we maybe didn't know we would heal or grow or mature or learn to love ourselves, So it could have been a surprise to everybody. Who does heal and grow and mature themselves and work through some issues that kind of used to cause them a lot of mental conflict and felt backstabbed and betrayed. You know, we don't know if we're going to do that or if other people are going to do it. And then it can happen. Something happens. And it's like, the universe doesn't like people being stuck, living in denial, backstabbing themselves, being backstabbed. It tries to shake things up to try to get people to see the truth. It can use movies or music or books or artwork or different people that we see in the world or just an aha light bulb moment. And it's like, oh my gosh. And sometimes it's kind of to illuminate something that could have caused us pain and heartbreak. Or we could even talk with someone else and maybe they explain something that happened. It's just like, oh my gosh, that is like something I went through. And then maybe that person tells you how they left that job or whatever it was and how they kind of got out of their ego about it, because Leo sun energy in shadow can be us being in our ego. And it's like, by a lot of ways, I could have been happy in something. But at the same time, it is like, now the Five of Swords is really making me think conflicted energy. And again, we have this dualistic nature that we battle within ourselves. And, we can love something but not like it at the same time. We can love a job, we just don't like our direct supervisor who makes it miserable. We could really like a job, but it's not going anywhere, and maybe we wouldn't feel like we have some more of the financial stability and security we want, so we could hate leaving that job, and it's kind of all these different things we have to work through in a relationship too. And maybe before, we're all on the path, hopefully, to learning lessons and learning to love and believe in ourselves. And initially, we all could have been more immature and caught up in the world and living more from our mind than our heart. But then over time, some people do change, get less of being in their ego, and more motivated and inspired by these things of the world that they want to indulge in to feel better or drive their sense of worth and value from. And it's like, that I thought all these things would make me happy, but it's kind of like our higher nature of growing to our full potential. That spark is there and it's not being pursued in a way. And then it's kind of like, well, should I stay here? Because I do have some fear, maybe even of revealing my truth, because the truth sets us free. And that can be why some people aren't living their life differently, is because they would have to maybe take action in truth or love, or maybe reveal they were a fallible human being like other people who made mistakes. And some of those people are too prideful to admit they made mistakes. And maybe I did get caught up in this, and maybe I wasn't seeing things clearly, and maybe I did have a lot of mental conflict, and maybe I was kind of full of myself. High vibe people going through this process is not easy. And working through your own fears and insecurities isn't easy, and getting to the truth of all these things that manipulate you basically isn't easy, and learning to love yourself isn't easy. And if you've gone through this process, you know how hard it is, and you can understand why some other people don't do it, because it's hard. You don't get things for free in the world, and you kind of get what you paid for and what you put work and effort into. And sometimes you don't want to see the truth because we want everything, but we don't want to have to put in the work and effort. And same way people can do that in jobs and friendships and relationships. People can just do that in their life. And it's like, I'm tired of feeling, like I am more codependent on other people for my dream to come into reality. And why do I think that? How about I go live my authentic life? I treat other people the way I want to be treated. I go enjoy my life, my friends, my family. If I'm in romantic relationships, I'm in them. If I'm not, I'm not. And I just want high vibe energy is about being free from all these things that manipulate you. And sometimes we get so caught up in our head, like, well, no, but I need this, or oh no, I need that. No, no, and oh my gosh, my life's just awful because I don't have those things. It's like we have what we have. And how about we be grateful for what we do have? And maybe some of the things that didn't work out in our life, uh, we don't see that it was a blessing yet. But God could have known those people aren't on the same page as you, and that's why they're not in a relationship with you. And it's like, oh, I hadn't kind of looked at it that way. Because I really wanted it to work because I didn't want to have to go have a new beginning, is what the sun can mean. It's like, well, you can keep staying here in your mental conflict and feeling backstabbed and betrayed when some other people have shown you that, they're not willing to be more authentic or loving and warm. They're not willing to heal. They're not willing to maybe be more just and fair. They're not maybe making good decisions in their life. And you just need to offer love to the situation so you can get out of your ego about it. Put an end to your mental conflict and go live your authentic life. But until we were there, we have the Three of Wands, the Magician, the Five of Wands, and the Seven of Wands. So, the Three of Wands talks about, well, I have this dream and I want this dream to come into reality. And the Magician can talk about that we could be putting work and effort to bring a dream into reality. But we could be working with the Five of Wands can talk about we're working with someone who's kind of on the opposite side of the fence from us, the way they view life and what drives and motivates them is different. We're if we all are willing to do this work together and we're all inspired that we want to move forward, we want to grow and heal and mature ourselves. Sometimes we could think about ending it, but then we know we'd probably have mental conflict if we ended it, because if we know we'd be acting more out of pride and ego or lust or greed or whatever, we wouldn't be proud of ourselves. So how about we're going to work through those issues within ourselves. And then that's interesting here. We have the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Wands. And in the middle is Justice. Kind of trying to get balance between, fire sign energy can be that, well, I want this. And I thought it was going to go like this. And the other person's like, well, I want this. And I thought it was going to go like that. And, we all had our own ideas. And the whole thing is, if we're going to work together with others to try to bring a dream into reality, it can't be the Five of Swords can be people who want to win at all costs. It's like my way or the highway. Everybody has to agree it can't be my way or the highway. There has to be compromise. I had my idea of how I thought things were going to go and how we were going to move forward. You had your idea of how you thought things were going to go and how things... We all have this idea. The Three of Wands is like, I am waiting for my dream, my ship of dreams to come into reality. Well, so did the other person. And, you maybe envisioned it differently. And with the Three of Wands and the Emperor both being Aries energy, and Aries energy is about the self, sometimes that dream that we had was a little more self-focused. Well, unless we want to necessarily live our life by ourselves and we want to work together with other people, we have to be willing to compromise. And, well, what's your dream? And how did you envision this going? And, maybe some people are having that conversation right now because, same way it can happen in jobs where people are like, well, I thought this is where things were headed, but it doesn't seem like they're headed that way. And I kind of have mental conflict and I'm wondering where you're at. And the same thing happens in relationships. So with the magician, everybody has their truth of what they want to manifest and what they love. And there can be inner conflict, is what the Five of Wands can talk about that about. And if we even want to keep moving forward in that foundation, the five comes after the four, and the Four of Wands can be that we are in some type of relationship, but are we going to move forward in it? And then we have the Seven of Wands. Do we think this is a victory worth defending, or are we defensive? And sometimes one person is inspired to keep moving forward, to stand up and defending this, and let's move forward. Let's work through the mental conflict. Let's make a decision to move forward in life differently. Or just working through these issues so we aren't staying in this conflicted energy. Let's work past it. And then some other people could have inner conflict because they do have this mental conflict about change, or they're not sure if that's their truth and could be more defensive. The best thing is if everybody is offering love to it. Then we have the Temperance card, which is it's also fire sign energy, but typically in a regular tarot deck, the one cup is the fire and the one cup is the water, and trying to balance those two out and being patient. And then we have the Two of Pentacles, which can be trying to balance out the fact that, I have my dualistic nature, and if I'm kind of more tipped in this way or tipped that way, you have your dualistic nature, or you more tipped this way or tipped that way, more in favor of like hope and faith and belief and love, or a little bit more about the world or yourself. And we all have our truth, and are we kind of on the same page? In the Page of Pentacles, are we willing to keep moving forward and be students of life where, we work through how we could be kind of tempted to if it's a thing of where there's kind of some competitive energy in a relationship, are we both willing to be students of life, to get out of our ego? And it's like, well, I don't think that I would want to go do that, and I'm still kind of defensive to it, but I'll go try it, and it could be where people try different things. They take on different responsibilities, or they just go do different activities where, are some people just more stubborn and prideful and uncooperative, and are some people more open and receptive? And it could be that, high vibe people can be very patient to try to work things out with people. But, we can our patience can run thin eventually. If there is no change, if there is no compromise, and or you just realize, we're ready to go in different directions. And then I think if people offer love to it and they do that work within it, everybody can kind of feel backstabbed because everybody had a dream. Well, I thought you thought like I thought. And it's like, well, I thought you thought like I thought. And I thought our dreams were the same. And, and sometimes though, in those, everybody can feel sad. But if everybody was willing to kind of be mature about it, then it's kind of like they handled it in a way where they're able to work through the mental conflict because they didn't feel like people were backstabbing or betraying them. It just kind of went in different directions in a way. Now, for people, though, who might have dealt with some people who are a little more shadowy, there are some people who are more about their ego or their image, and that's very important because they might not be someone who's very authentically more motivated and inspired by love. So what they have going for them is their ego and their image. And if someone else is kind of wanting them to move forward and kind of step out of their comfort zone and kind of be who they profess to be, more independent, more loving, more just, more fair, it's kind of like the gig is up. It's like, well, that's not my truth. And that's, no, I don't want to do that. But then they can have mental conflict about it because they could feel it reflects poorly on them, which really, the truth is always the best answer. you know, they wanted to move forward in life kind of differently. I kind of felt like, we weren't on the same page, whatever. But sometimes because some people, and if they are more rigid, it could be that they view themselves as a very just and fair person in the world, that they have a certain status or image or looks or whatever they got going. Um, that they could think that if you don't want to stay in a relationship with them and repeat some way of living life that's in their comfort zone, then they can want to backstab you because they don't like that you kind of healed and grew and matured yourself, and they don't want, maybe have no interest in doing that, and so they're going to keep living their life the way they do it. And then they might not want to illuminate the truth that really they are kind of a little bit more about themselves, and maybe do try to manipulate and control people in relationships. And some of them are just offensive to love. I could get hurt doing love. Somewhere along the line, I decided I'm not doing love anymore. I could get hurt. So then it's letting their more ego run their life and go out in the world, create this illusion. Oh, yeah, I'm motivated and inspired by love. And then they get in relationships, and love causes them inner conflict because it's kind of entering the danger zone, and they've kind of locked off and detached from their more loving, hopeful, believing nature. And just the thought that they're kind of tempted to align with it and get more balanced within themselves and be a student of life, that enough can cause them enough inner conflict where they get all up in their head and they don't trust people, and then they sabotage the whole relationship or backstab the people they're in a relationship, and they just decide, I'll just balance out my emotions about the fact that I didn't move forward with people that I could have moved forward with, and I think I'll be happy making my life about the world. And they go repeat that old pattern. And for some of them, they could think that emotionally mature or loving or nurturing people are a dime a dozen. And they go out there in the world and it's like, oh shit, that didn't work out at all like I thought it was going to work out. I just thought I'd just go find me another loving, nurturing, supportive, encouraging person who maybe had some fear of change, and they would keep repeating this pattern with me. And some of the people that got in relationships were just like you, or some of them were like you, and the same thing happened again. Others of them, they went to go get in a relationship with someone like themselves who was creating an illusion. Oh yeah, me too, and I'm motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness. But they weren't being authentic. And then, they kind of realized those people weren't who they said they were. If we want to be in more just, fair, authentic, loving relationships, we should do this work within ourselves to be that type of person, so we are who we say we are. And some people have mental conflict with that, and that's why they're not doing it. And so it's either to go try to find people who are more on the same page as them, or try to manipulate someone else. Some people just are more about themselves, and they don't want, and they, for some reason, don't want to align with their more loving, hopeful, believing nature. Probably because they too have had experiences in their life, just like the high vibe people did, and they kind of gave up on their dreams, and the high vibe people didn't. It's a free will choice. Some people I view high vibe Leo energy as offering yourself love and encouragement, like being your own best mother, father, coach voice to yourself. And some of those people that's not how they view life. No, I don't have to do that. I go get in relationships with people. That's their job. They're supposed to love me and nurture me and make me feel better. But the problem is, other people can be loving and encouraging, but they still have their same issues. And then if their issues bubble up, then they could think, wait a minute, you must not be the right person. Because my fears and my insecurities and all that wouldn't bubble up if you were the right person, because that's how I view life. It's not me who needs to change. I need to find someone to play that role in my life. Like they're looking for a more codependent relationship. Like, I want to be an immature child in some ways, and I want you to indulge me, and you're supposed to indulge me like a parent would a child. The only problem with that, too, is that once, just like children in a home, eventually they want to be more independent. And if you get in a more codependent relationship, even if you are the loving, nurturing person, unless you're both that way equally with each other from like love and respect and maturity, one person can more heal and then they're ready to kind of move forward differently. And the other one thought it was going to keep staying in a more codependent relationship, and then they're mad, but children fly the nest. Are you coming with to go fly with me? I have another channel called I Alone Fly Tarot. And then they don't want to go because, like, well, no, you were supposed to keep just staying here and letting me play that role in your life as, like, a nurturing, loving person to you. It's like, well, nurturing, loving people want me to grow to my full potential. It's like, well, no, I didn't want that. So, what's coming up? What's going on? What's coming up? For people who harness some high vibe Libra energy, what could be coming up for them that they don't see coming? The Three of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Seven of Cups. It's funny how things can change over time. Initially, when something didn't work out that we thought was going to make us happy and we wanted to stay in it long term, and we felt backstabbed and betrayed and we had all this mental conflict, and we could have felt very unstable and like our world was falling apart, and then we make the decision to offer love to work through all of our fears and our insecurities and see the truth of the situation. Once we kind of see the truth, we're kind of happy that we're no longer in a situation that causes us a lot of mental conflict, no longer in relationships with people who can harness those energies in a shadowy way where they're kind of egotistical or full of themselves or bossy or controlling, or being around people who are backstabbing and betraying us. It's like, hey, I would rather spend my days alone than be around people who are backstabbing and betraying me, or certainly not to be in a romantic relationship with them. And eventually, you work through all of that. And then the Seven of Cups is kind of interesting because it comes after the Six of Cups. We have the Five of Cups, the Six of Cups, and the Seven of Cups, and those are all Scorpio energy. And it is kind of the emotional water sign energy, I believe, that we tap into when we're in the middle of a relationship. And it's hard to transition out of it. But if we offer the one cup to the Five of Cups, which is feeling sad, then it helps us get in the Six of Cups, which is being more balanced within ourselves. And then as more time goes by, we kind of feel more hopeful and optimistic. We've offered another cup to the Six of Cups, that now we're more tipped in favor of our hopeful, believing, loving nature again. And then when we've done all that work, and the Three of Pentacles is Capricorn energy, and shadowy Capricorn is represented by the devil, we've done all this work offering love to the situation, and all of that helped free us from things that were manipulating us and oppressing us and confining us and restricting us, our own fears, our own insecurities, our own self-limiting beliefs. And our own negative self-thinking or whatever. And then when we do that work within ourselves and we kind of free ourselves from those things, we're kind of not as interested in hanging around people who are still in that energy, because that's no longer our truth. And here from we have the Two of Pentacles to the One Pentacle, which makes the Three of Pentacles. And that can be operating from a different core foundation, where before you could have been more caught up in the worldly illusion, and now you're operating from a foundation of being inspired more by listening to your intuition and love to guide you than your fear and your insecurity and your codependency and all that. And it's changed your whole world. You're not the same person you were before. And when we see the truth sets us free. We have no interest in repeating that way of living our life again, because we've already been there and done that. We have seen what wasn't good. We took the good building blocks with us. We saw what needed to go, and we were willing to detach. And some other people in our life aren't ready to do that. Other people have moved on ahead of us. And just like when people move forward, they're kind of like waiting for other people to come up the stream of life that have learned these lessons. You know, employers are like, why isn't anybody working here? Oh, because they're all staying at those jobs they don't like. Why am I not finding some people to be friends with or date or whatever? It's because they're hanging out with the people, some of them that they really shouldn't be hanging out with. And then some of the high vibe people, as you're moving forward in life and you're detaching, some of those people could be really happy that, you know, the Three of Pentacles, that they met you, that they ran into you, that maybe someone they know knows you. Maybe you got a new job. Maybe they didn't care for some of the people who worked there before. And it's like, wow, this is different. And maybe the other person was kind of shadowy. And it's like, oh, wow, this person is aligned with like being inspired by hope and faith and working together cooperatively from love. That other person seemed to have a problem with that, or the other people I was dating, or the other people I was friends with. And that can be a shock and a surprise to the people that you meet when you meet them. And as you're moving forward, someone could come towards you and it could be a shock and a surprise, you know? The Seven of Cups can be, I didn't know you viewed me as an option. And other people that you could communicate could think, I'm surprised you view me as an option. You know, because maybe in the past we could have known people, but we didn't get in a relationship with them because they kind of weren't on the same page at that time. Or we could have been in a relationship with them, but because we all had our own lessons to learn, the relationship might have not worked out. But really, we were more on the same page, you know? So just like the opportunity is there to reunite with friends and family and people you've used as a romantic interest, all those are possibilities. I just think high vibe people speak their truth and take action in their truth. And some of the people they could communicate with, saying, I'm moving forward in this way, do you want to come with in this way? They could be surprised, and then it makes them like, oh shit, I always kind of thought maybe I would do that if I had that opportunity, but you know, now I've got to work through all of this within myself, and what do I really think, and what is my truth, and who have I been hanging out with? So I think as you keep moving forward in this energy, there's going to be other people who view you as someone that they would like to work with, because you're not operating in these shadowy kind of ways of being. What's coming up for some people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy that they might not see coming? The World and the Seven of Cups. Why? Because of the Emperor. So the World can talk about closing out a cycle, and they could be surprised that people don't want to have a new beginning with them. And some people are really surprised because they kind of try to create this illusion about who they are in the world, and they could think that they create a good illusion that they're this certain male or female, a certain status or image or whatever, you know? And they can be surprised that some people don't want to keep staying in a relationship with them, don't want to have a new beginning with them, don't want to get in a more involved relationship with them. Why? Because other people have learned lessons in life, and they also, I kind of look, the emotional nature and the fire nature. Other people listen to their intuition, and sometimes people can present whatever facade they want, but other people listen to their intuition, and their intuition is telling them, do not get in a relationship with this person. You have been there and done that before. You have met people like this, and some of them you already know them well enough to know all they do is create an illusion. They really aren't who they say they are. And you've learned those lessons, and you've learned to love and believe in yourself. And I'm not going to make decisions to get in a relationship with someone in the fire sign energy, maybe more out of pride or ego and lust and greed or whatever. And they're going to have other people leaving their life, because eventually people no longer buy the illusion. I thought we were going to bring a dream into reality. I thought we were going to make these mature decisions and work cooperatively together from love, but I see the truth that that's not what you're doing. You kind of harness your Aries and your Scorpio energy differently. And then the world is Aquarius and Capricorn. Your dream is different than my dream. You might be a little more full of yourself or more emotionally shallow and superficial. More about the world. The world has you caught up in the illusion. And those are still the most important thing to you. And that can be why you want to get in a relationship, because it'd be good for your ego or your image or your status or something. Or other people weren't willing to indulge you as much in your ego as you wanted, and you think I will. It's like, I've already been in relationships with people like that. And I'm not trying to change anyone anymore. I'm standing up for what I believe in. And if other people haven't worked through their own fears and insecurity and pride and ego and past pain and heartbreak and the illusion of the world to be more inspired, to be more authentic and loving and hopeful and believing in love, I'm not going to try to change you. But when other people don't want to be in a relationship with people, there can be always other people who are caught up in those things. And some of the people who are more caught up in things other than being inspired to be in a deep, meaningful relationship, which is high vibe Scorpio, there's going to be other people that will be in a relationship with them. But it might be people they're not really attracted to, but they could create the illusion they're attracted to them. It might be in a relationship with people who present the illusion that they're this certain type of person in the world, but it's all kind of more of an illusion, and maybe they're kind of bossy or controlling, And it's like, to think I don't have to plant seeds of truth and love and justice and fairness, but I should get that harvest. Like, people who are like that should want to be in a relationship with me. It's like, what kind of illusion do you live in? People before could have been willing to work with people to try to help them heal and grow and mature themselves, but there gets a point in time as you get older in life, I'm not putting up with people's bullshit or immaturity anymore. Grow up or move on. And if that's not your truth, and you're still have this illusion of what it means to be in a relationship, I'm going to let you go do that illusion with someone else. I'm no longer in illusion about you. I used to, no more. I've changed. I do not want a new beginning with you. And, some people, they delude themselves. They think, oh, they'll never love and believe in themselves, or they'll never find someone as wonderful as me. And then when they finally wake up and see that you've changed and you've moved on, then in their fireside energy, it can cause them a lot of inner conflict, because some of them, they thought for sure those people wouldn't leave, or those people would come back, or all these people would want to be in a relationship with them. It's like, people saw the truth of who you are sometimes just by observing you, and they are not interested. And if any of them learn some lessons, I've got to quit creating an illusion, and I've really got to get balance within myself and quit being so puffed up in myself. If I want to be in relationships with people who are being good examples in the world authentically, because that's the truth of who they are, if I want to be in a relationship with people like that, I have to be that type of person. And if I'm not, then quit getting in relationships and trying to manipulate people who are like that. And go get in a relationship with someone who's driven and motivated by the same things you are. And if it's not being authentic and warm and loving, then go get in a relationship with someone else who doesn't want to be authentic, warm, and loving. That would be just and fair. But they want to be shadowy and be in a relationship with someone who has all those high vibe traits and qualities and characteristics, but they don't. But they think that's just and fair. Well, they better wake up, or there will be people who don't want to have any new beginnings with them. So, there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.